So, a couple years back, at a point in time when I wasn't really too happy, I fell in love with, like, straight-to-DVD Scooby-Doo movies. And before you're weirded out, obviously I admit they're not high art, or like anything like really deep or anything, but I like them, you know, they with surprisingly likable characters and like good jokes sometimes, you know. So just as a casual thing, maybe check them out one day, huh? There are some of them I genuinely recommend as like movies. So anyway, for context, I was watching one of them called Sword in the Scoob with my little brothers, and at one point their lives flashed before their eyes and showed all of the different versions of Scooby-Doo all over the years, right? Like all the shows, movies, art styles. It's cool. So I thought to myself, that's pretty funny.
Wait, are these movies connected? So, for this investigation into, trying to connect all of the different movies together, I'm gonna have to leave out some things, because, I don't really know enough about Scooby-Doo, and these shows in particular, to feel entirely confident talking about them. These are the ones that I'm not gonna include in it, and I'm sorry if you get upset about that. So, I'm not gonna include A Pup Named Scooby-Doo, Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue, Laugh Olympics, all the live-action films beside the main two, and Mystery Incorporated, because that's just too big for me to cover. It'll be easy to work out the stuff for, the start of the timeline, because you can just use the release dates, because back then they weren't, retconning anything. So, for the start we have the original series, and all of those stuff with the classic monsters. Then you've got the Scooby-Doo movies, which was a show, I think. Not movies, like the title says. And then you've got the Scooby-Doo show. Okay, so, and at this point, the Mystery Inc. gang, right, Fred, Velma, Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby-Doo, they kind of split up for the first time. They are getting kind of bored, and at that point, they just don't want to start hanging around and solving mysteries all the time. And that coincides with Scooby-Doo getting a visit from a family member, someone that you may know, Scrappy-Doo, everyone's favourite character. So then you have Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, and the new Scooby-Doo mysteries, and that with these series, it's just Shaggy, Scooby, and Scrappy-Doo, and they hang out and solve mysteries themselves, and I'm pretty sure Daphne, Velma, and Fred show up at some point in that. Then, here's probably the weirdest Scooby-Doo show. So, Shaggy, Scooby-Doo, Daphne, and Scrappy, they go to, I think, the Himalayas, where they open a chest containing 13 real ghosts. And these aren't guys in costumes, these are real, actual ghosts and demons, right? And they have to stop them with the help of famous actor Vincent Price and probably an Asian stereotype named Flim Flam. It's okay, it's weird, but it's fine, I guess. So, after this, we're gonna hop over to the flashback in the live-action movie, like the first one, where they explain how Scrappy-Doo gets kicked out of the gang. So after the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, the gang gets back together again, and after, say, a week or so, I don't know, they realise that Scrappy-Doo just doesn't fit in. He's just annoying and bad, and he just urinates all over Daphne, so they just kick him out, right? So, this part, you just have to stick with me, right? It'll make more sense at the end, right? But for some reason, at this point, the timeline splits. It just breaks up into like 2 timelines, and this is weird to explain now without any context, but just trust me for this part, okay? So now we're going to talk about timeline A, right? This is what I think is probably the main timeline, right? And it starts with the first live-action movie. You know, I'm sure you've seen it. It's very fun. They go to Spooky Island. Rowan Atkinson's there. And then you've got the second one, Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed. Okay, so the animated movies I put in this part, I kind of feel connects more to the live-action movies than the animated films before it, with the way the gang dresses, not matching up with the animated movies beforehand, and Matthew Lillard, who is the best Shaggy ever, doing the voice. So, after the live-action movies, we have Scooby-Doo, Abracadabra-Doo, where they go see Velma's sister, who's enrolled in a college for stage magicians, which is haunted by a griffin. And then you've got Camp Scare, where they go to Fred's old summer camp and save it, I guess. It's a weird plot. Then you've got Legend of the Phantasaur, where the Ultra Instinct Shaggy meme comes from, and it's a surprisingly major plot point for the movie. Music of the Vampire, it's a musical. It's alright, I guess. And you've got Big Top Scooby-Doo, where they go undercover at a circus filled with clowns to fight a werewolf. Yep. Mask of the Blue Falcon, one with like loads of references I don't get. Scooby-Doo Stage Fright, a really good Phantom of the Opera parody. You've got Scooby-Doo WrestleMania Mystery. John Cena's in this one, everyone. Look at John Cena. You've got Franken-Creepy, which is the exact plot of Young Frankenstein, but with Velma, which kinda works. You've got Moon Monster Madness, where the gang wins a ticket to go to the moon. And yeah, it's kind of ridiculous, but not as ridiculous as Scooby-Doo and Kiss Rock and Roll Mystery, where it's revealed that the band Kiss are aliens from a rock and roll dimension who are sent to Earth to protect us with rock music and black and white makeup. Anyway, you've got now for the first show, Be Cool Scooby-Doo. It's the show animated like a Family Guy ripoff. Then you've got Scooby-Doo and WWE, Curse of the Speed Demon. John Cena's in this one, everyone. Look at John Cena. And then you've got Shaggy Showdown. Shaggy is descended from a master cowboy and can mind control horses to do his bidding. He is God. You've got Scooby-Doo and Batman the Brave and the Bold. I like this because it has the Riddler. That's the only part I like. You've got Scooby-Doo and the Gourmet Ghost, and okay, I'm gonna go off on a little tangent here, but it has probably my favourite background character of any Scooby-Doo ever. So in the movie, at one point, one annoying guy pretends to be Elton John to get people to show up at a party, and like after the ghost is revealed, the fake Elton John also reveals himself, and everyone starts shouting at him, including one guy who just says, "You're history's greatest monster!" Like, I thought he was talking to the bad guy, but no, he's just talking to the fake Elton John, because the guy after him says, "Your music stinks," you know. Anyway, sorry, tangent over. I just had to talk about that. You've got Scooby-Doo Sword and the Scoob, which I mentioned at the start. It's a medieval one. And I've not seen, like, the newest one, which is a crossover with Courage the Cowardly Dog. But I'll mention it now before we move on to Timeline B. So, in Timeline B, we're gonna go all the way back to before Scooby-Doo and Scrappy-Doo, when the gang splits up due to boredom. But for some reason in this universe, Scrappy-Doo never shows up. So, due to the plain boredom of just having every monster they fight just be guys in masks, they just don't get back together, and they will get different jobs. So Daphne starts a TV show, Coast to Coast with Daphne Blake, and Fred comes with her to work on it. Velma starts a bookshop named Mystery Inc., spelled I-N-K, and Shaggy and Scooby, they become border officers at, like, an airport or whatever, that take all the contraband food, and let's be real here, also the drugs, for free. So they get fired for stealing the food, and Velma, she's just all alone. And so that leads those three to join back up with Daphne and Fred when they start a new ghost hunting segment on Daphne's show, where they travel America trying to find real ghosts. And so they go to Zombie Island, and Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island is my favourite Scooby-Doo thing ever, that I will probably talk about in its own video more one day. For now, just know that in this movie, the gang face real monsters. They find what they're looking for, and the zombies are genuine and not a guy in a mask, and that inspires them to start ghost hunting full time now. Also listen to It's Terror Time again, because it's genuinely a bop. So, after that we have Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, where the gang meets the Hex Girls, who are the best characters in anything ever, and the witch is real. And after that you've got Alien Invaders, where Shaggy and Scooby get girlfriends, but they're aliens and real aliens. And Cyber Chase, well, this one doesn't have a real monster, but it's Sword Art Online for Scooby-Doo, and it's a big love letter to the original series. And then you've got What's New Scooby-Doo, which has the best intro, right? And this show is basically continuing on to 2006. So while all these other movies are going on, What's New Scooby-Doo is also happening at the same time. So, Legend of the Vampire. The Hex Girls are back, and they fight glam rock vampires in Australia. And then you've got Monster of Mexico, which legitimately sucks so much it is not good, and do not watch it. Loch Ness Monster, where they meet a hippie conspiracy theorist named Del Chilman, who comes back later. Also, Nessie is real. And then you've got Aloha Scooby-Doo. I don't like this one either. It's just not very good to me. And if you want a good Hawaiian movie with surfing and monsters, just watch Lilo and Stitch. And Where's My Mummy, where Scooby and Shaggy are worshipped like gods by a bunch of live-action role-players. Then after that, you've got What's New Scooby-Doo ending. So that ends at this point. This is 2006. And you've got Pirates Ahoy, where they go on a mystery cruise ship and get attacked by ghost pirates. And I love pirates so much. And would you guys watch a series where I tried to become an old-timey pirate? Right? Just a thought. Anyway, yeah, the stuff isn't real in these ones. But then you've got Chill Out Scooby-Doo, with the Yeti, and Del Chillman's back, baby. Our king hath returneth. Anyway, yeah, we never see him again. And you've got Goblin King, where everything is real. All fantasy creatures are real, and I hate it. And you've got Samurai Sword, where dragons are also real. I'm not a fan of it, but I'm including it on the list for my friend Ella. Anyway, that's all of the movies and that I can think of, and all the shows. Well, besides Scoob. Anyway, so that's the end of Timeline B, right? For now, at least. So, this is the explanation part for the whole timeline splitting thing. Because you may be wondering, what happens after both of the timelines ended? And I say ended, I just mean that I couldn't get any more movies to put in them. So after them, I think the timeline that breaks tries to fix itself and merge, leading to a couple weird movies that don't really match up with any timeline, aka movies that are just pure nostalgia bait, trying to get people that watched the originals as kids to buy the new sequels. Anyway, you've got Return to Zombie Island, where it takes place in Timeline A, but it's a sequel to something in Timeline B. And also the movie The Curse of the 13th Ghost, which takes place in the modern day, but is trying to, be a sequel to Scooby-Doo and the 13 Ghosts, which is like 30 years ago. But there's something weird about both of these movies. In those two movies, both of the original real monsters were proven as fake in the sequel movie. After the timelines start to merge, which to me is suspicious. Almost like somebody's trying to cover their tracks. Someone evil enough to have caused this. Somehow with access to real magic power. Someone who was around when they meet real monsters in the original timeline before it broke, and someone who in the live action causes real monsters. You know who I mean. Scrappy-Doo. I know it's a meme to hate on Scrappy-Doo for no reason. So much so that they made him the villain of the live-action movie, like the first one. But just think about it. He's around in the original series whenever real monsters show up. He's in Scooby-Doo and the 13 Ghosts. The timeline splits conveniently after he's kicked out of the gang. And after the timeline splits, the alternate dimension has loads and loads of real monsters and conveniently know him. It's certainly suspicious, at least to me. But before we finish and wrap all this up, there's one Scooby-Doo property that I think deserves mentioning, that I personally feel is the reason why the timeline broke in the first place. But not only that, I feel is also the true ending of Scooby-Doo. The Scooby-Doo Project. So, in 1999, this was a satire of the Blair Witch Project, the found footage movie, shown as commercials on Cartoon Network for Halloween. It shows how Mystery Inc. got lost in the woods hunting a monster, and shows them having complete mental breakdown and getting unnecessarily hateful towards each other over the weeks they're stranded. It ends with them entering a dilapidated house where they catch the monster, unmask him, turn around, and gets murdered by a real monster. Zoinks. So, this special was a mix of live action and animation, having the original cast and designs for the characters put over the real footage. So yeah, the special is quite funny, but also quite disturbing in concept and execution. But here's the part that'll blow your mind. At least, I hope so. Throughout the special, the gang are tormented by the sounds of an old friend who, as we know, isn't to be messed with. Scrappy-Doo is, for no reason, like they don't explain it, he is in the woods at the time when they are murdered by a real monster. I think it's pretty obvious he's involved, right? So, if you look at the timeline, at this stage, like the 90s, their outfits and the fact they're doing regular mystery solving in the 90s, it might mean that Scrappy-Doo murders the gang and that somehow caused the timeline to rip, displacing him, so there's another timeline without Scrappy-Doo, but real monsters. And anyway, if he's the one that's putting it back together, maybe he might feel guilt about being the one that caused it. So, anyway, after the original series and the 13 Ghosts, Scrappy-Doo is kicked out from a Mystery Inc., right? And in a plan of evil revenge, lures them to a house in the woods where a real monster, that by all means should not exist, conveniently kills them. But doing that causes a rip in space-time, probably due to the inclusion of, like, a real monster, and creates at least 2 branching timelines, one where they go to Spooky Island, fight Scrappy, and in a universe without Scrappy, go to Zombie Island, where they fight real monsters. So, in conclusion, wow, this has been a lot. I'm sorry for going a bit mental and writing a 5-page timeline about Scooby-Doo, but I hope you had fun. And again, I don't genuinely think Scooby-Doo is this deep, super planned, or even well-made series. I just thought this would be a fun video to make, and by all means, I've had fun making it. But that being said, if anyone happens to see this and see all the flaws in my logic, or hell, if somebody has something, like some piece of evidence or knowledge that somehow proves I'm kind of right, let me know in the comments. I love seeing engagement on my videos. And, this video is kind of a light-hearted one to start with, but in the other non-series videos, I want to branch out and talk more about horror movies, as that's kind of where my interests lie, whether that's doing more essays, challenge videos with friends, or something else. I just want to show you all the wonderful sides to the horror genre as a whole, and I thought, what better way to start it than by starting with the thing that really got me into it, Scooby-Doo. So, for now, leave a like, write a comment. If you're new somehow, leave a little subscribe for me, please, and have a good one. Bye!